Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Monday edition of Benzinga's PreMarket Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, and Dennis Dick with you. Well, we have ourselves a Monday morning rally this morning. Thank you very much, G20. We're going to recap the events, the developments from that over the weekend and how the market is reacting. We're also going to recap biggest moves from the close on Friday due to the Russell Rebalance. Those are going to be the headlines today. Our guest is going to be Chris Brecher. He would join us at 8:35 from Brecher Trading. In the meantime, Joel, tell us what's happening here in this market on this Monday morning.
Major green on the screen. SPOO's up 34 and a quarter handles, 29.7850. I'm just going to give you that price, and I'm going to give you the current high. $2 away, 29.8050. Your pre-market low, way ahead of Friday's high, even with that crazy action from 4 to 4:15. But I'll be looking, if we get a pull back to mid-range on the session, that comes in at 29.72 on the upside. Maybe we could start thinking about that magic 3,000. But nice rally this morning. Crude joining in the fun too, up $1.70, now over $60 at 60.19. You have gold in the red by $18.70, losing that $1,400 watershed mark. Silver in the red by 1.6 cents at 15.32.5. And the weekend warriors in Bitcoin, they found some sellers this weekend. Instead of going up, it went down. Down right now. The futures are down $1,380 at 11,210. And I think that's a real bad sign for the Bitcoin boys, don't you, Dennis? When they lose a battle on a weekend.
I mean, maybe it's just crowded now. I mean, obviously, everybody's been expecting every weekend. So anybody who's playing from the weekend trade here, this is one of the first weekends really getting beat up. Like we've said it before, we've been citing it. It seems like every weekend it has a big move. This was another big move. It's just in the other direction. And this is something, to consider. I mean, liquidity is lower. So if you've got a major seller coming in, it can really move it. And, we've talked about this on the stocks. Always the biggest moves happen between 8 p.m. and 4 a.m. Why? Because the indexes are closed. Or on the weekend, you get big moves because you've got, obviously, the regular stocks are closed. So S&P's trading 24 hours, but the stocks aren't there. So you don't have the ARBs going on. So it gets a lot thinner. I would imagine I'm not a Bitcoin trader, but I imagine there's a lot of players who aren't trading it on the weekend. There obviously is still some, but, people, take their time for their family. They do other things. So typically liquidity on any vehicle is usually less on the weekend. That's why you see bigger moves.
And I'm looking at 11,000 here. This is basis to futures. 1, 2, 3. Well, you had that, 11, 27, 10, 8. To me, line in the sand right here is 11,000. The low is 10,835. This is basis to futures. So if it could just hold 11 for a couple more days, doesn't necessarily have to bolt up back to 12, 13, or 14. But it certainly looks on the daily chart. We're finding actual buyers here at 11,000 here in the Bitcoin CME futures.
All right. Before we go to the rest of the market, I want to first say to Dennis, happy Canada Day. We didn't forget about you.
I know it's a holiday. Look, I took the holiday and I didn't even take the holiday off for you guys. I'm here despite it being everybody in the whole world in Canada here is taking the day off except me.
I want to read you some numbers courtesy of a press release from Canada Goose this morning in honor of Canada Day. So here are some stats for you to show your Canadian pride. 95% of Canadians are proud of their homeland. 64% of Americans have considered a move to Canada for everything from healthcare to politics to safety to affordable education to job opportunities. What else we have here? 44% of American respondents feel Canadians are welcoming of diversity in all forms. Nearly twice as many Canadians as Americans are likely to declare their country the greatest place to live. So a lot of Canadian pride out there, Dennis. You should be proud of your country this
I
morning.
should be wearing red today. It's pretty disappointing actually that I've got a dark shirt on, but I did wear red yesterday. I went to Canada Day party there, had a good time, and wore my red shirt there yesterday. So today I actually celebrated Canada Day yesterday because I knew I had to work today.
And you didn't say anything about like maple syrup in there.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. There was nothing in the
Pulled it up
survey.
stats.
Nothing in the survey about maple syrup. But yeah, if you
So
want to
my
see.
We
mom's
didn't talk about
Canadian.
hockey either. It's a big day for hockey. This is unrestricted free agent day for hockey. This is like a national holiday even without the Canada's birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, big day. We're gonna see what the Oilers do. They probably won't do much.
And then going back to oil there for a second, we just got a headline there from Russia that they are going to cut oil production in line with OPEC. So, it's sort of oil is like an OPEC plus
It is
Russia
just
story. So
flying.
OPEC is going to cut. Russia will also cut. No surprises there, but they're sticking to the script. So oil rallying hard.
Everything is up on my screen except you know what is down significantly? If you're guessing the stocks, what kind of stocks, Joel?
Defensive.
Well, defensive stocks to a certain extent, but gold.
Gold.
Oh
Gold
yeah.
stocks
Oh,
are
yeah.
getting rocked here today. So, I mean, we were rallying here. We had a little bit of a rally on Friday in the GLD, a little bit of rally in some of the miners. That is all gone here this morning, significantly down here. So, yeah, this is a full risk on day. Gold is obviously more of a risk off trade, and it is getting smacked around. That's the only thing down. But let's go talk what is up, because we have the chips, monster moves. We have tech having monster moves. We have oil stocks having monster moves here today. Go give us the headlines here of why we're seeing all these monster moves, Mr. Israel.
We have ourselves another in a continuing series of trade truces. This one from over the weekend. Another in a continuing series. So a pause on new tariffs, and Huawei is once again allowed to buy stuff from American companies.
So you're seeing a pop here, and the chips are really celebrating here this morning. AMD up 5.1%. Micron, after its most impressive week there, just going back, just obviously 4 days ago, reporting earnings, stocks at 32. It's $41 here this morning. Micron is trading up another cool 6.5%. I guess when the wind gets in your sails, it keeps blowing for a while. Applied Materials up 4.5%. Qualcomm up big time here, up 5.69%. Buy the dips on all these chips worked. I mean, on the Qualcomm, it was down in the 65 area there just a month ago, and now back to 80. These things just have bounced back. Western Digital, I sold my Western Digital on Friday. I said I was probably going to do it. I did it. Wish I wouldn't have, because look, it's blasting off here further again. I mean, these things are just monsters right now. So, like, I thought it was a little overdone on Friday. Now it really feels overdone.
It did pull back during the day a little bit, but I had not taken a look at Qualcomm in a while, and you did have that gap down. I believe there was another potential lawsuit. So if you were playing this for a gap fill, 77.72 was your low on May 21st. You gapped down nearly $6 that day. You are now back in that area. You just missed it on Friday. To fill that gap. 79.04 is another daily high, but let's see what happens at $80. If this thing opens up 80 and hold, yeah, continue to go higher. But if you had this on for a trade, looking for a gap fill, you're going to get it this morning here in Qualcomm.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get rid of my Qualcomm because I still is the wild card of we don't know what's going to happen with that ruling. That they probably were appealing. But we don't know what's going to happen with that. I mean, that was the reason that it got the big fall if we go back in May. There's still some wild cards here. I think you get up to 85, and I actually like from the short side, but like I said, I'm still long it. So we'll see. But I was lightening up some of my chip exposure on Friday just because they had big moves. Obviously, that was a mistake because they got bigger moves here going on this morning. There is other news here too. I mean, it's not just chips, it's everything that is moving here this morning. But I want to go to the Boeing headlines here from Friday because this came out Friday night. And then there was multiple headlines over the weekend. Give us the whole Boeing saga, because it's not only gold stocks down. Well, only one that really on my screen here of really the Dow components here I'm seeing down is Boeing.
Yeah, mostly a lot of headlines, like you said, that they had outsourced production to workers making minimum wage, that they had given an estimate. Well, actually, they gave a September estimate for the fix for the 737 MAX. I don't know if that is if they've had to push that back, but that was from Thursday. They gave that estimate there.
Yeah.
Just a lot of continuing problems that people knew, didn't report it. It's just really more of the same.
Friday night had a major headline though that the DOJ was looking
Oh,
farther
right,
beyond the max.
right, right,
This
right.
was the headline. I went short this on Friday night because everybody else is, eating dinner, and it was like 6:30 at night, and I'm still trading for some reason because I don't have anyways, sometimes there's some good opportunities. That headline broke, and there was literally a lot of stock you could have shorted. So I was like, that can't be good. So anyways, I did go short. I covered most of it Friday night. I was actually talking to Kolb, and we were just saying, I'm like, well, what if there's a deal, or what if something happens? I mean, maybe it's not a bad idea to, get some profits, because I shorted, I think, at 64 and a half. It went down to 61 handle, 361 handle. So it fell like $3.50 after I shorted it Friday night. So I covered most of it. I kept a little piece on. That little piece is kind of where it was Friday night still too, but the S&Ps have arrived 35 handles since then. So relatively speaking, it's actually quite a bit lower. 1.5% difference between that and the S&Ps here right now. So they're hitting it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I was thinking I might try to hold on to this short for a little bit because it seems to just be more bad news breaking on this all the time. But the other consideration is that it hasn't really went down significantly on any of these bad headlines anymore. So I don't know. I'm torn. What should I do with my Boeing, Joel? Little short. It was
You
a
know,
short day trade, but can it turn into a swing trade short? Question.
give it a little bit above your entry price. If you took, if you took
Maybe.
profits on the majority of the position,
Yeah, I
then
did.
yeah, then let it ride. Seems to be seemingly headlines every single day on this.
Multiple headlines
Yeah,
every single day.
one way or another. But we talk about holding that last little piece. Just talking the after hours action, Dennis. Boy,
Yeah.
4 o'clock. I mean, I heard our cash close in the SPOOs was 44 and a quarter, and then they just came in
They
with their
ripped it.
iron shoes up, straight up 10. I actually walked away from the computer. I guess just some anticipation of the G20 meetings, or someone didn't. I mean, that's
They
a
didn't want to be short in the weekend.
yep.
Yeah, they ripped it. So it was a wild close, and we obviously had a Russell rebalance, which we had some fireworks from that. We also had the end of the quarter, which we had some fireworks from that. So you had some stocks that had some wicked little moves. So if you're trading stuff just off fair value today, just be aware you had some wicked little moves. Like check out Visa in the last few minutes there. So Visa was 172 with about 5 minutes to go. It ran up another $1.50. So, and this was just, on imbalances. I had a huge buy imbalance, obviously, that pushed it higher there. I had a bunch of them written down, and I don't have it now. I'm trying to remember back from Friday, but there was definitely some moves here on some individual stocks. Also, it was a tweet there from one of my followers who gave a nice little rundown there too. Let's see if I can go find that for you right now, just on some individual movers and what happened there as well. Jumping through my Twitter feed, there's actually been quite a few tweets.
I was annoyed at myself. I got distracted. I missed the close. I was too busy watching the
It was a good
M.
one. There was some movement. It wasn't the craziest close I've ever seen. And on some of the Russell rebound stocks themselves, it actually wasn't that, there wasn't that much movement. It was actually in more random stocks like Visa, and I'm not sure. There's always some rebalancing, and what was the end of the quarter too. But when you see Visa run $2 in the last 5 minutes, I mean, it's a big move. Normally I'd fade that move. I actually just missed it. So, but there was some movement.
And getting some continuation in the banks too.
Well, the banks had a huge day on Friday, and that
Yep.
was obviously from the stress test Thursday night, the buybacks they announced, the dividend increases they announced, and we're seeing some follow through here this morning as well. I mean, it's hard to really, jump and you look here, what's been going up and what's been carrying us to new or carries us to new all-time highs here. I mean, there's been an argument from the bears for a long time. Well, we can't make new all-time highs without the banks. Well, that kind of went out the window on Friday because the banks all blasted off. So with all their stress test results. So I don't know if you're sitting here in the bear camp, what's your argument for this market to give this back besides just saying too much too fast? What's your argument really? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not in the bear camp. I'm just wondering what the bear argument is here now.
I know we've been talking about the financials for a long time, and the interest rates going down. Obviously, had a little bit of we really knock them down, just kind of held, and then the great results of those stress tests. Those stocks pay pretty good dividends. I know Warren's heavily in J.P. Morgan, and I believe. I think he's still in his Bank America, so slow and steady wins the race with with a lot of these banks here. And Goldman had a great day. That's following through as well. So we'll see if they hold the gains. 2-day move though, Dennis. I mean, you're probably not that surprised at the move in Bank America.
I
And
mean, you're
some of
going to
these
see when the
stocks.
S&Ps are up 35 handles, you're going to see everything catching a bid unless it's got individual bad news like Boeing.
Yep.
So it's across the board. Like I'm looking at my screen and you're really hard pressed to find anything. Obviously the defensive stocks, you got to think interesting move in Procter and Gamble on Friday. Procter and Gamble catches the upgrade from Goldman, opens basically at the high of the day. I was actually long. I sold the open. I actually tried to get short the open because it was just opening way too high. I missed it by like a nickel. And then it just went straight down. I was like, are you kidding me? So it would have been a perfect reverse. I sell the open and sell it short. But I
Yeah.
think I was at like 112.70, 111.75. And it was showing 112 at the open. There was some size there. We knew talked about the size that could potentially hold it down, but it opened like 111.70. So it opened just under me. And they pulled the rug out from under it. So you know what? You get a little rally here on some of these stocks. It's actually the stocks I'd probably be selling. If you're going to think, we're going to continue this bull run, some of these defensive stocks have went up a lot. On Friday's tell, like Procter and Gamble, Johnson Johnson, Coca-Cola, XLP, they had ugly days on Friday. So any type of lift in those, I think it met with sellers today. So if I was looking to short something, it'd probably actually be the staples.
Yeah, they've had some nice runs, and I guess we just need to talk overall strategy here. For, just going into the open, opening above all-time highs by considerable margin, and
But we did that on Thursday too, didn't we? Didn't we open up above all-time highs? Which day?
let me go look here. I think you're off by a week.
Oh yeah, it was a week ago.
Yep.
So now we're doing it again. You keep bumping your head up against these all-time highs enough, eventually the breakout might not be a fake out. So
Right when we were at the event, yeah,
I hate buying, and just individual strategy one time. I hate buying when we're up 35 handles. I like to buy pullbacks. If I'm bullish, I buy the pullbacks. If I'm bearish, I sell the rips. This is a rip. I'm bullish though, so I'm probably not selling the rip. So I'm kind of like, I did really well overnight with my overnight holds are excellent, but I'm kind of booking profits here now. So does it continue? I don't know. We'll find out, but I don't think there's an easy trade to just say, oh yeah, we're breaking out and we're going here. I mean, it's hard to come in and buy, the stocks when they're up 35 points, at least from a day trading perspective.
Right. And the ones that you do get off the open, maybe off fair value or something, maybe you don't want them, Maybe
Sometimes.
there's a reason. But yeah, everything's in the green. GE's back over 1050. I see that trading at 1059. We know about the pair of highs at 1070. You want to talk the autos, Spencer, a little bit? We do have some auto sales coming out this week.
Before we do that, let's just talk about Apple here. Apple, you have the analyst from Bush this morning saying that the weekend headlines from G20 and the truce could add $20 to $25 per share to Apple's value. I don't know, but last week the journal also reported that Apple was planning to go offshore in their Mac Pro assembly, but that's your driver this morning in Apple. So quite a big gap up there.
It's a big pop. It's up 2.5% here. Obviously, this the trade deal or trade truce that we're calling it here, obviously is the main driver here as well. But you look here, it's bumped its head over 200, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 times in the last 7 trading sessions, bumping its head over here again. I mean, you keep banging your head against the ceiling, eventually going to break out. I don't know if this breakout day, but on pullbacks here, I think Apple's a buy. I'm long it's still in the long-term portfolio.
I guess that guy leaving on Friday is really not a big deal. They hit the stock on for what's that guy's name?
Buy the dip, Joel.
Oh man,
the best strategy. We talk strategy a lot on this show, and the best strategy in the last decade has been to buy the dip. It just continues to work, at least on stocks and uptrends.
203.76. You hit that area twice on the 15-minute chart here in pre-market trading. We've been up in this area before. Last time we were up in this area, you had a high at 205.34 and then 207.5. So if you're looking for a continuation here above that pre-market high, next daily high doesn't come in until 205.34, and as I mentioned, 207.42. Also, if you were so inclined to play any options this week, any weekly or any shorter term options, be aware the decay is going to come fast and furious here with the 1 o'clock closing on Wednesday, and then the market being
Oh yeah,
closed on
it's at 1 o'clock
Thursday.
close on Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
So I forgot they closed it early on Wednesday too. So we're off Thursday. So this is a short week. We're
Yeah.
gonna make all our money in the next couple days, really. I guess if
It-
you're long, you are making all your money right now.
Right.
Wow,
So
okay.
just something to what is it? The theta or the vega?
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever it
All
is.
Joel's saying is got 3.5 days only.
And then
I did not know they closed early on Wednesday. So
Yeah, full day Friday though.
full day Friday. Okay, so close early on Wednesday. Keep that in mind. Just individual stock news. I mean, we talked Boeing, but let's jump back over. We talked the banks. We talked the consumer staples. We actually bounced around pretty good here. We have not talked the oil stocks yet. Oil is ripping here this morning. It had an ugly day on Friday. Oil was down, getting all of those losses back and more. What is the headline here, Spencer, for the oil rip?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the double I guess the double headline this morning, OPEC and Russia both agreeing to continue with their production cuts.
This is a big move here for oil. What are your thoughts? I mean, these oil stocks have been dogs. There is no doubt when you start looking at the individual ones. I mean, you can bring up a Schlumberger, Exxon and Chevron held up a little bit better, but really, when you think about where the overall market is and where the individual oil stocks are, the best, thing to look at is the XLE. I mean, you look at it, we're $76, $78. We're 63 here now. That moves along with oil, but oil has definitely underperformed. Thoughts on, is this an opportunity here, or is this just, another opportunity to sell them? Because most of these oil stocks,
it's just a trend.
yeah, the trends are ugly.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I mean, it seems that when they went down oil in the 20s in 2016, they're in the trough, and then they had the rally, but it never seemed to they never seemed to rally as much as as actual crude oil. So that's been the trend for a long time. I just why it would stop now. I don't know. I mean, we are getting other resources for energy, and there's a lot of long macro
Yeah, well, you
talks.
think about the long-term thesis for oil stocks. I don't think it's really. I mean, we're moving to a cleaner environment. You've got, and obviously global warming is going to become a major issue. Obviously, it's coming up there even in the debates there on Wednesday and Thursday from last week. I mean, it's a major issue going forward. Cleaner energy. Oil is not clean energy. If we're moving to full electric cars, if that's where it's going, that's not good for oil either. I just think the writing's on the wall here. If you're investing long-term in oil, I think you're on the wrong side. I've actually sold almost all my oil long-term investments. Trading is a different story. There's going to be, opportunities there, but I just think the opportunities are more on the short side when these things rip up. And obviously some of the major oil companies are trying to do other things. They're trying to get to cleaner energy. I know Suncor's got, wind farms all over Canada here. So they're trying to do other things because, the writing is on the wall. But there's pure oil companies, like you think like a Transocean stuff, there's reasons these things are trading at $6. When it used to be 190 or whatever the all-time high was on that thing. I mean, it's a move for cleaner energy, and oil is not clean.
Yeah, rig. I mean, that one for years and years. I think what really was that all-time?
What was the all-time high? I thought it was like in the hundreds.
You are right.
I guess 190. That's just from my head. What was the all-time high?
163.
Okay, I was off a little bit, but it's way high. $6. So people say, if you think it's going back, I don't think so. I don't want to own oil stocks just because there is, and you can say, oh, global warming's a myth or whatever, but there's a lot of proof out here that it's not. So, and you look at, the water, in the Great Lakes here, and I don't know if anybody's following locally here, the water in the Great Lakes is rising like crazy. I mean, I've got a cottage here on Georgian Bay. Water rose 15 inches last year. It rose a foot the year before. We were up like 3.5 feet. in the last 4 years in the water and where I'm at, and down you know where, and looking down towards Detroit area and start looking at Lake Erie. The water up there is up substantially too. Like there's getting sometimes damage to some properties down there because the water is so high. I mean, I don't know if that's a global warming thing, but there was a lot of people predicting, years ago that water was going to rise 20 feet. I'm not sure that's going to happen or not, but I can tell you it's up 2 or 3 feet in the last year, depending on where you're at, or last 3 years, depending where you're at. So that's a major issue. Is it global warming causing that? Is it something else causing that? I don't know. It's above my pay grade, but I can see water rising, and I think there is issues here with global warming.
Yeah, you can't deny it. I mean, the Great Lakes are at levels that I don't think that they've
It's
ever
all-time
seen.
highs down, like
Yeah.
Leamington area where I was born, and my parents' place, and they've got a long piece of property, but the back of their place backs onto a creek, completely underwater. There's actually carp swimming on the neighbor's lawn. There's it's because it's a foot deep on parts of the neighbor's lawn. There's actually from the creek, they've come in there, and it's just that high. The water is high, and it's in the last 5 years it's really started to come up. So obviously this is a major segue from where we started oil, but you start thinking about it. If these are trends that are happening, the world is going to have to start getting cleaner. Oil is not clean, so I don't want to invest in oil. That's my bottom line.
Yeah, I agree. And if you are, then go with the crude oil, go with the futures, because similar to gold stocks, I mean they did have a move, but nowhere near the percentage gain. So
But oil all-time high in crude, what's that, like $150?
yeah,
Not even like in the realm. What are we at? What are we at today? This
we're
morning?
we're traded just above 60. But the all-time high in crude was I mean on basis on this chart it was 216.12. But that's the rolling front month contract, and that was in September of
Holy cow, though.
2008. Yeah, and that's when U.S. Steel hit 196. That
I
was
mean, that's just, and I don't know your thoughts if you have any on this, Spencer, but I just think you got to start thinking cleaner energy. I'm not sure if you're going and buying all those solar stocks. It's a different story there. They've got their own issues, but I think you got to invest in cleaner energy, because I think the world is moving to that.
yeah, Spencer. You're going to be around. What are you?
No, you're going to be around. Me and
What
Joe
are
will be
you,
gone
Spencer? What
when
are you,
this
a
world
millennial? What do
is
we
fully
decide
polluted.
Spencer is?
No,
Is
no,
he a millennial?
I fall squarely in that generation. Yeah. Although millennials, people don't think about it, but a lot of millennials now are like, Dennis is almost a millennial,
How's that happen? Well, okay, define millennial. What is that? I hear this term
because
all the time.
it's like 1980 to like
Why? Why is it not like people born millennial? Why is it not people born like 2000 and beyond? Why is it?
no, that's Gen Ed, that's Gen Z, man. You gotta
Okay. I got to
the
read a demographics book.
yeah, you do. So 1980 to like mid 90s is millennial, and then like late 90s area to I guess to now, I don't know, is Gen Z. So you're almost a millennial. I fall squarely in that age demo, but yeah. So pick a new generation to make fun of,
Do
because
your friends talk about global warming?
no,
No.
but no, we don't.
No, we don't.
But then you get someone like my dad who owns like the all vice portfolio, like oil companies, Altria, anything you could think of where that's like bad for you or bad for the environment. He's all about it. So how the world runs on oil. So I don't know how it'll take a long time to get over that. But let's move 8:30 here. We just
We got
got
imbalances that are
yeah.
interesting here.
Where are they?
I just got smacked. Oracle 241,000 to sell. So it was actually trading at 57.50. It just went down to 57.29. They're hitting it because they're anticipating that, hey, that's a big seller there. This thing could actually open red. They're big, and they're both through. AT&T 182,000 to buy. I'm just kind of bouncing around here and just looking at what else jumps out at me. Some of the banks with some big buy imbalances here, but it's actually what's interesting here is I see a few sell imbalances. And I don't think, the market was, expecting any sell imbalances here, or they wouldn't be hitting a few stocks here, at least individually here right now. I don't know. It's Oracle's interesting, 241,000 to sell. CBS 31,000 to sell. HPQ 34,000. It's interesting that there's a few sell imbalance. I would have thought a lot more buy imbalances. These things are going to change. Obviously, can offset, but actually, I'm not seeing that huge demand from the stocks that you might expect on a day we're up 36 handles.
Yeah, 36 handles, 1%. I mean, I see some of the big boys trading up 1%. Apple up 2.62%. Amazon, they're all pretty much all just trading above that 1.19%. So perhaps some more room in the spoos on the upside if get through this 29.80.50 high. And I know you guys are talking your baby, the millennial. I'm definitely the baby bust.
You're the bus generation.
Yeah, the baby boomers were 1946 to 1964. I kind of came in at the end of that in 63. So we're kind of a lost generation. But anyways, we got the imbalances. We got Chris Brecher coming on in a few minutes here. It's always a good time. Always good to talk about Tesla. We always can get some reaction. I see it trading up 672.
Yeah.
But Spencer, you have a little news on that, correct?
Well, no news today on Tesla. They're going to have news later in the week. We're getting our deliveries for the quarter for all the automakers. I don't know exactly what date. It could be tomorrow, but it'll be at some point this week. It's typically in the first week of the month. Tesla's going to be the most interesting because we know they have previously guided 90 to 100,000 deliveries for the quarter. Whether or not they make that number will sort of be the line in the sand there. But expect more volatility in Tesla this week.
I've been seeing more of them around. I mean, if you want to go just simply by the eye test, I mean, I've been
Actually, so have I.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's what I'll tell you though is that it had a big run up, and we talked about this on Friday, and then you had several days of consolidation here between 222 basically and 228. Now you're attempting to break out of that consolidation. So I guess where you determine the trend is up off the low of the move. Down, been considerably down since you're up at 380. My daily level for that to really prove a strong leg up higher, that would be getting over 235. June 18th, you had a high of 234.74. So if you're looking for another target on Tesla, that's what I'd be looking at, 235.
All right. Yeah, silence as it's okay.
Deafening silence.
So we're also going to have GM and Ford. Keep that in mind, and Fiat Chrysler and Honda. All the automakers reporting deliveries for the quarter. It's going to be quiet.
The number we talked about, 1050. You're just under it there, 1036. I mean, I think it's a sell as long as it's below 1050. Gets above 1050, gets interesting. But just watch out for those, where it can just go 1055, 1060 and back down below it. If you're going to play this for a breakout, you want it to stay breaking out. I'm still a seller for in the 1050 area. No thoughts on GM. I'll leave those to Joel if he has any thoughts. I just think $40. Got the
yeah, 40. We talked about that.
Yeah, we did. These are slowly climbing up to those levels though, so it starts to get an interesting setup. I mean, short at 1050 on Ford, short at 40 on GM. I don't mind those trades.
Yeah, they're getting close. Ford still they're both still kind of living off the I believe it was an upgrade on Friday. I can't remember who it was, but there was two firms that liked the autos a little bit, and you just got a continuation move. We know about the size at 1050, and I think GM might have kissed 40 on Friday. Nope, not quite yet. 39 actually still sees big number. 38.99 was your high on Thursday, and 38.93 on Friday. So first things first, let's take out that seller at 39 and then work out the potential sellers at 40.
All right, I want to bring on today's guest, Chris Brecher from Brecher Trading. Let me make sure he can hear me and I can hear him. Chris, good morning. Are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
We can. How's it going this morning?
Fine. I need to turn off there we go. Can you hear me still?
I can hear you great. Oh, the old radio trick, the old radio calling trick where he was hearing you had the show on, you're listening, and then you hear yourself. And then
yeah, it's like from Airplane or something.
Right.
So yeah, I'm glad to be here. It's amazing on how you rallied the last 15 minutes on Friday. I guess somebody knew something, but amazing. We're still on the high. What I'm finding more amazing is the ZB, the long-term bond, is only down 13. It's amazing.
All right, so where do we go from here, Chris? We're once again at all-time highs. We're going into a quiet few periods here this week and next week. Not a lot of news. We're sort of past the G20 hurdle. Earnings season, I guess you could say, starts in 2 weeks there. But we're in the quiet part of the year, one of the quieter parts of the year. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think the first thing is you would mention that you have a half a day Wednesday, but believe it or not, you have the unemployment report on Friday. So there are a couple of ways to look at this. Number one is if you have some kind of China deal or the prospect, is the Fed not going to loosen in July? The problem with that is right now people are still, it's almost 100% certainty. So I got to see what happens the next day or two on the odds of that. And the market went up a lot on that. So if the unemployment report is a little hot on Friday, that could be a different thing. But in the meantime, when you look at things like the Russell, and the Russell's been underperforming, we're probably going to enter a speculative period. I mean, we've already had it in Bitcoin, you've had it in gold. When you look at the Russell Microcap Index, the RUMIC, it is grossly underperformed. And I have a feeling that it's you're getting into the speculative space, that you'll start seeing it in the smaller stocks, the $2 to $20 stocks.
All right, so from a short-term standpoint, looking at today and tomorrow and even Wednesday, obviously trading up here this morning. What's your play for today?
My play today is probably, believe it or not, to go in, and there are about three things. One of them is to look to short the consumer staple stocks. They've been a place to hide for some odd reason. They have outperformed the FANGs. Supposedly in the last 3 months, the FANGs have been about unchanged, and the staples are up something like 15 to 20%. I mean, Procter & Gamble has gone nuts this year, basically up 17. I'm looking at it, 22 points this year, over 22 points. So I think the Procter & Gamble's, the Clorox, the Colgates, the Kimberly-Clarks are probably going to be shorts after the opening.
Chris, I couldn't agree with you more. Dennis Dick here, and we actually just talked about it 20 minutes ago. That Procter & Gamble gets the upgrade from Goldman on Friday, and they sold Thursday night, and then they obviously trading on Friday, and they sold that upgrade hard. I mean, I think I completely agree with you. These things have been straight up on worries. Eventually, now we're making new highs. I don't see the catalyst. I don't see why you want to pay 25, 27 times earnings for some of these consumer staples. I agree with you. I think they're all sells.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. Now, the problem is when the ESs are up this much, you get a little nervous about shorting the opening on them. Obviously, in Procter & Gamble on Friday with the upgrade Thursday night. In hindsight, it's easy to say it's a short on the opening. Today, it depends how high it opens. If it opens near the 112 level and the resistance, the high this year is 112.63, that's probably a low risk entry point. If it opens at like 109.89, that puts you in a tough position. So what I'm going to do is put Procter & Gamble, Kimberly-Clark, Clorox, Colgate, all next to each other on 1 minute charts. And if one starts falling apart, I think the rest are going to fall apart.
So I guess that answers the question then, if you're going to short, you would short it via the ETF or just the individual names.
Yeah, probably the individual names. The reason being is the XLP just doesn't move the same. So if I mess up, I hardly can make it back. I mean, even this, let's see, for the last 3 weeks, it's really had about a 1.5 point to 2 point range. I mean, Procter & Gamble had a 3 point range on Friday. So I'd rather trade the individual ones as long as they don't have earnings this week or something, which they don't.
What about like the healthcare stocks? And this is something I would argue is somewhat defensive too. I mean, the big pharma, you look at Merck, Pfizer, Lilly, they've all had pretty good years. Not Lilly as much, but Merck and Pfizer have been straight up. I mean, are these going to fall into the same category? You think these are going to be decent shorts as well, or what are your thoughts on these ones, Merck?
That's a good question. UNH, we were shorting on the opening on Friday because of the debates. So the less popular Biden is, more and the more liberal it sways, the more people are worried about the Medicaid for all. So the healthcare stocks go down. The only problem with that theory is things like HCA look great on a chart. So, I mean, if I was doing a pairs trade, I'd be buying HCA and shorting UNH. Just HCA just looks so good on a chart. We liked it at about 130 when it broke its trend line. And now if it breaks 136, it could go all the way to 145. So some of the healthcare stocks I don't like. Cigna, I think, looks bad on a chart. It looks okay on a daily, lousy on an hourly. So we'll have to see if they get in any kind of bearish configuration is invalidated on the opening. So that's what I'm watching. I'll tell you, a creative trade is the biotech rumor takeovers. So what's been happening is they go up on Wednesday morning. Go and look at ALXN. It's fascinating. Yeah. They go up until Friday night. They open up on Monday. Then they get pummeled because disappointment about no takeovers over the weekend.
Wow,
then they go down until Wednesday morning. They do it again. So I'm thinking the rumored biotech stocks are short after the opening. That's sort of a creative idea. It's better than going and shorting like Google or something.
Yeah, I've never thought about that before, Chris. So that's a nice point that you're bringing up is, you do see sometimes, and I don't know if you got the stats behind that, the data behind that, but it's an interesting thought process. I mean, I could see how that could be the case where you wouldn't want to be short some of these biotechs going into Friday night, just in case, you get some takeover, and then they don't. You think, okay, now I'm safe to short these again for a few days. That's interesting. Those trends sometimes can work for a while.
Yeah, the ones I'm watching, I mean, don't get me wrong. I really like some of the biotechs, especially if we go into this sort of speculative phase.
Yeah.
But, ALXN, Jazz Pharmaceutical, they all started roaring Thursday and Friday. So I've just seen that before where if the ESs pull them up on the opening, they are good shorts because everybody was only in them because they thought there was something over the weekend. So it's just if you want creative shorts on the opening, that's one way to play it.
Chris, I'm sorry, Dennis. You want
to go, Spencer.
Chris, are you mostly looking at hourly charts, or explain your chart breakdown, or what charts?
When I have a 6 grid, usually, like when I share my charts, though, the problem is 6 grid gets a little small if you're on an iPad or an iPhone. But just personally, I have a 6 grid of a 1 minute, a 2 minute, a 5 minute, a 15, and an hourly and a daily. So I think that's the problem with something like Cigna. Is Cigna looks okay on a daily, but on an hourly, it looks like a bear flag. So that's why I mentioned that if it gets high enough, it's going to invalidate any bearish configuration. If it opens under 159, then that's different. It could have another leg down. But I use multiple time frames. During the day, I sort of know where the daily and hourly are, and you look for long-term breakouts. But intraday, I'm going to be using a 1, a 2, a 5, a 15, and I'll look at an hourly like an Apple today and see like how overbought it is. So in fact, I'm typing as we speak to just anticipate how overbought it's going to be. And I heard you talking about Apple over 203.70. I totally see what you're seeing. I want to see how it acts after the opening, but I mean, now as animal spirits, my goodness, I have to see a reversal, let's say on a 1 minute, and then see it work off its oversold by using whether you use a MACD, a stochastic or whatever, see it reverse, see it work off the oversold poorly. And then I'll get in on the short side, but I'll miss the beginning of the move, but I'm not going to get killed because I short too early. And the only reason in Apple that I'm even thinking is something on the short side is if it stays under that 203. Over that, that's different. And then it could go to 210. So, I mean, I definitely have to play both sides of the fence, and we'll just see what happens.
Chris Brecher talking the markets with Chris. Chris, how about this gold rally? Nice move. It's kind of a buy everything market last week. Now giving a little bit back here. I mean, it's been in a trading range for a long time, broke out of it. Do you think that there's an area on a pullback here you'd be interested? We could go GLD or we could look at the gold futures.
It's a good question. I like gold when it broke out that triangle where you could connect all those lines from February 21st down to May 30th. And it's sort of done that projection. It's right now is a tough thing. I saw on Thursday and Friday those indecision candles or dojis, and we followed through to the downside. It's funny. I posted morning charts from my subscribers that 1360 would be a gift to buy. I don't know if we're going to get there. I think longer term, if you look at a weekly or a monthly, it's just starting to break out. It could go all the way to 1600, but it's overbought on a weekly. It had that follow through on today as in respect to the dojis. I have to see it reclaim like 1410, the gap from today, and then I'll get long or I'll wait till 1360. In here's tough. Now, when it comes to stocks, the best bang for your buck is KL, that we liked a long time ago. And now if it gets some kind of like sell off to 39.5, I'd look to buy that. That's my favorite. The other one is AGI is another good one, a cheapie that closed at 605. If that gets down to 560, I'd look to buy that also.
And how you been handling this IPO market, Chris? I mean, if you want some trading action, Beyond Meat, I see it's trading up 284. Lyft and Uber coming to life a little bit. Pins, Slack, they're all out there. How you been tackling this IPO market?
Well, I'll tell you, Uber, Lyft, and Beyond were added to the Russell this week, Friday. So that's why Beyond Meat was 140 on Monday and went to 168 on Friday. And we sort of thought it would be a short because it just got pumped because of the indexes. Lyft has to hold 65.
Okay.
So Lyft had a nice little bull flag and broke out above 65. So it has to hold 65. If it does, it could go a lot higher. Uber broke above its IPO price. So if it could stay above 45, it had like a bull flag from 40 to 45. It could go to 50 easily. But we have to see how they act today now that the buying pressure from the Russell is over.
Good point.
Beyond Meat, I got to tell you, I'm looking to do a neutral butterfly under the market. So that's what I want to do. The problem is that the options are in the sky. So you got, of all of them, I would look to Beyond Meat to do something. I'll see how it acts after the opening. But I want to do something maybe around 150. I mean, the stock was 140 last Monday, and I don't think that's ES related. I think that's being added to an index related.
So with that strategy, you're just trying to kind of clip the wings on the butterfly and let it just kind of take the premium in and settle down a little bit?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide how I'm going to structure it. Just like I mentioned in Apple, though, you probably want to see a consolidation after the opening. But we might do something under the market like a 160, 150, 140 put fly if it's cheap enough. It closed at 215. We only have 3.5 real trading days. It's gonna open lower because the stock's up 3. You probably, $1.75 is probably a good bet. I don't like doing them when they're out of the money. But that's probably the one I do. If not, I do a 170, 155, 135, 140. It closed at like 5. Let me put it up here so I'm not telling you wrong.
Okay.
It closed at 520, but here we go. If the stock opens up $4, that thing's probably going to be about 420. And 420 is not a bad idea. But I want to see how it acts right after the opening. You know how that stock is. The next thing you know, it could be 170. But if I had to pick any IPO on the short side, it would be Beyond Meat. Now, on the other hand, for the long ideas, I got one for you that's a cheapie, is TIGR. If you look at that, that has probably the best chart of any of these recent IPOs. And unfortunately, it's up a little today, but it sure looks like a bull flag and like it's trying to form a rounding bottom. So that one looks pretty good. Pin interest, I'd like to see it get above 28, and I'll be excited about that again. In pin interest, it's really underperformed, but that's where I'd be interested.
All right, Chris Brecher has been on with us from BrecherTrading.com. Chris, as always, thanks for the time and have a good rest of your day.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Take care.
All right, 8:51 now, guys. Joel, anything of note happening?
We are just hanging up here, refusing to go down, refusing to go up here. Pre-market high 29.80.50.
Big
That
move
is-
happened.
I'm sorry.
The big moves happened. I mean, this is what it
We
is.
talked
This is
with
why
Joe.
I do a lot of overnight trading. I mean, the big moves happen overnight. Like so
Overnight
yeah.
or late in the day, and then the after hours.
I feel like, and I've said it before, I don't do a lot of trading mid intraday. I mean, from 11 to 2 to 2:30, I don't trade during that time. It's a lot of chop. Usually there's not a lot of direction. It's just, there's not a lot of trend. I mean, on certain days you can get it, but 4 out of 5 days, it seems like you're trading in those hours and it's just chop. So you always seem to get the bigger moves here overnight. It's why I've moved in the last 7-8 years. I've moved a lot to overnight trading to try to extract the better alpha from overnight trading.
Less competition from high frequency.
Less
trading.
competition and it's bigger moves. I mean, it's not as thick, so stuff moves. You got a direction, you got a thesis. A lot of times, these overnight moves really work out.
All
All right, let's go to ratings here. There's one that caught my eye above all else, and that is Zoom Video. This morning is catching a downgrade from Goldman Sachs. This actually caught my eye for a few reasons. To sell. So it caught my eye for a few reasons. One, it's Goldman Sachs. We know they're influential.
Mm-hmm.
2, it's a sell rating. And 3, Goldman Sachs, I believe, was an underwriter. If you look at their coverage, and they initiated a coverage on Zoom with pretty much everybody else on May 13th, and they were at neutral. So this is now the first downgrade of the underwriters here this morning. It is a sell. They raised their price target, whatever that's worth. But
what's the price target?
It's $66.
Oh, man.
So still below where we're at now, but a sell rating from an underwriter this morning.
$86.30. It's trading down $2.50 here. I'm not surprised about that.
I know what Triple D is going to say.
I don't know what I'm going to say, so tell me what I'm going to say. I'm torn. What are your thoughts?
You're going to say that there's a double bottom.
I wouldn't touch this.
No, I'm just saying that's
not even 84.
No, I'm not saying on the long side. I'm just saying that they take this thing through 84.61.
It's wide up, right up.
It opens wide up to fill the gap, all the way down. How far do you have to go down to fill that gap?
I'd say $80.
Yeah, $80. So I mean, there's just there's a black hole in a stock today. It's in Zoom.
If we weren't up 35 handles, this would be down $5-6.
Yep.
Where, if you're long it, it's a gift that the market is higher here this morning and it's not down more. I don't know. Maybe let's see what they do. Joel's giving you a very good number. What do they do at 84.60? Do they bounce it there the first time, or do they cut right through it like a hot knife through butter? I don't know, but I think it's going to test it. And I'd be scared to just say it's going to bounce there, because when you get an influential brokerage,
yep,
then can really put pressure on the stock, especially when they say that ugly sell word. 80. I think this could see 80 easily.
Maybe not today. Maybe not
the
today.
Market's up so high, but I would be very scared if I was long.
And if you're looking at this stock and you're saying Joel and Dennis are wrong, look what happened to Procter and Gamble on Friday. That's a whole different stock. Procter and Gamble.
Were we wrong on Friday on Procter and Gamble?
No, we weren't wrong. No, we didn't.
I think I was right.
No, just the street. I don't know I can't remember. I remember it had a much higher open, and it was a fade. That was more pertaining to the overall Goldman call than the call that we made on it. But I'm just saying this is because a lot of people are like, oh, Goldman Sachs is downgrading a stock. Oh, they must have a lot to buy, or vice versa.
And that is bogus. I mean,
I know.
Come
I agree.
on. They don't, Goldman is so, they're very careful with what they do. They went through people who have a conspiracy theory that think, oh, they're downgrading the stock so the clients can buy it. That is absolute nonsense. Nonsense. And, people are going to fight me on Twitter and say, oh, no, it's not. They do this stuff all the time. They're so regulated now. I mean, Goldman is so tight even with their inventory and everything because they're under so much scrutiny all the time. They've got the thickest walls there between, their analyst desks and, and obviously the clients. There is absolutely no way they're doing stuff like that. So I'm a gold, we clear through Goldman. I can see on the research papers, these come out of the blue. And it doesn't look like somebody has it beforehand. I mean, in the instance like Procter & Gamble, that research hits, like we're kind of, we can get access to that. And I mean, we're right there too. So, I mean, everybody's, who's got the Goldman research, it's out there publicly. There's nobody getting that information ahead of time. And I don't believe at all for one instance that they're downgrading the stock so their big clients can buy it. I don't believe that at all.
Agreeing with you here. 8:56. We still got a few minutes before the end of our show. Spencer, any did we go
No,
through?
there are more ratings here.
Let's do a couple.
Acacia, ACIA catching an upgrade from Needham to buy this morning. They announced a $59 price target. Who else do we have here? Not a ton from upgrade land that are super interesting. Six Flags, SIX, catching an upgrade from KeyBank to overweight as we head into the busy season for that. Not a too many. KB Homes catching an upgrade, BTIG to neutral. Thanks for that one.
$27 on KB Homes. I like that for a short. If it gets up in the upper 26s here,
Okay.
I think you got some nice resistance up there. 27. I'm going to go look at the book because I wonder if there's something in the book. Just see all those highs just above there. Nah, nothing in the book, but I don't know. Just big psychological level, $27 if it gets silly.
And then as far as initiations, nothing super interesting. Wayfair initiated by Needham. Downgrades, we mentioned the Zoom, Fox Corporation, FOXA, downgraded Guggenheim to neutral. Yum Brands, downgrade to underperform at Longbow. And
that's a big call.
That's pretty much it.
That's a contrarian call from Longbow here. I think it's funny some of these small brokers can move stocks too. So Yum is trading down here, but it was kind of an ugly candle on Friday for a little bit there. A lot of things, were bouncing around and it really ripped into the last hour or two. So there's probably a buy imbalance there too. I didn't notice it, but I can just see the chart really ripping up. Sometimes those moves get faded naturally. Now you get a downgrade. I think I'd be a seller of any Yum rally here too. I think you got near those. There's a lot of highs, 111 area. So I don't mind this downgrade.
Yum. Oh yeah, quiet consolidation, and now getting a little bit of pressure on it. See if it can hold. Let's see. It's trading down? Not that much.
Yeah, no volume on it though.
Yeah.
Like Yum isn't one that's going to come in and it's not like Zoom where it's widely traded. It's not a widely traded stock, so you won't see a lot of volume in the pre-market typically on these.
Sure.
It's what happens after the opening. Is there going to be some sellers in there? There might be. So, there's also a market here where you're going to see some money come out of some stuff. I think Chris is right on when he's talking about money coming out of the consumer staples, like Procter & Gamble is trading in the green here this morning. The XLP is trading in the green this morning. I think all these things are sells.
Just real quick, someone's asked two tickers, and then we'll wrap it up for today. Kern, this was the wild child a little over a week ago. Went up to 66, 67, and he just came all the way back down here.
What stock?
KERN, a Kerna Corp.
This is one of those low floaters.
Low floaters. I mean, you got an out. I mean, after that big run up and
$20.
Yeah, around 20. I just don't know. I mean, once you start to rally here, a lot of people are going to be looking.
A lot of people underwater,
Yep.
at least in the last 5 days. But 20, you're right. You can put any trade on as long as you have an out. If you're playing it from the long side, I would not want to see it below 20.
And just with all the biotechs, the XBI is trading up $1.51, and just based on the daily numbers for this one, 89.77 was kind of a spike high that we had back on June 20th. So look to see if it could get back over that area after 2 strong days. And this XBI looks a hell of a lot better than some of these other biotech stocks here, Dennis. I guess is having the mixture in the ETF and then perhaps some other companies, but keep an eye on 89.77.
All right, that'll be it for today's show. Thanks to our guest, Chris Brecher. Thanks to all of you in our chats. Please remember all the information on our show is for informational purposes, not meant for investing or trading advice. If you missed any part of our show, it's available on our podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Google, or anywhere you get your podcast, pretty much. That's it. Everyone have a good rest of your day. Happy Canada Day again to Dennis, and we will see you on Tuesday.